You know, Yugoslavia was built upon a certain number of truthful ideas. Not many countries are actually composed out of ideas, but this was a conscious attempt. It was the idea, the truth, which turned out to be true, that the South Slavic people, that's Yugoslavia means South Slavs, correct? The South Slavic people could live together in peace, and unified as a substantial country of substantial size and resources, so that it couldn't get picked off one after the other by larger predators circling around there, be it Turks or Austrians or Americans or whoever. And that was working, you know, especially after World War II. The Yugoslavs had set out a system of what they call social capital, which was, it was socialism. There was a lot of public ownership of things, but there were any number of other enterprises that were worker-controlled and worker-owned in this way. And it was a country that had a fair amount of prosperity. It was a pretty nice place to live. And by 1990, mid-90s, they were democratically electing a national government, as they already were electing republics. So it was built on those truths. Yugoslavia was destroyed on a bunch of lies. Just as some truths were being striven for, there were these lies that were used to destroy the country. And those lies were to play, to put the screw on the country about credits and debt, and bring the IMF in. They could upset Yugoslavia's credit system and financial structure, start to bribe the different individual republics with all sorts of briberies, money, and the money that went into places like Croatia and Bosnia went to the most retrogressive elements in those countries, quasi-fascist or outright fascist. Franz Truzman in Croatia. Truzman was a Nazi collaborator, a young Nazi collaborator in World War II. That's what he was. He's probably a war criminal. And he became president of an independent Croatian republic. Or Izetbegovic, leader in Bosnia, Muslim Bosnia. He was as a kid, he was in the Hitler SS, the Hitler Youth. I'm sorry, not the SS. That was Truzman. He was a member of the Hitler Youth. So this is the kind of leadership they brought forward, and the whole goal was to wrench these, to play upon the discontents, to play upon the imposed sanctions, which increased unemployment and whatever else, to in effect coerce, put a gun, put an economic, financial, and even military gun to the heads of the people, and drive them off and break up the country. All the while demonizing the Serbs. Demonizing the Serbs because the Serbs were the largest ethnic group in Yugoslavia. They were like the spine of that country. And the Serbs were also probably the most committed, although that may not be necessarily true. The Serbian working class was very socialist, by the way. And that's enough to demonize any country as far as the U.S. goes in its defending of global capitalism. And the goal of this empire is to turn the world into a third world. Everywhere will be a third world. A world where people will work harder and harder for less and less. A world in which the social wage will be crushed and evaporated. And by that I mean human services, public services that are needed, undermine them, defund them, and the like. A world in which will be armed to the teeth with police and cops everywhere. And I'll tell you that, when I was in Belgrade, it had the same trait. The only other two places I ever saw this was communist Cuba, I'll use the label, communist Soviet Azerbaijan, I think even Leningrad, although I don't remember Leningrad. Yeah, I think so. And in Belgrade, what I saw in these countries, I saw at 11 o'clock at night, at midnight, I saw women walking alone, just walking in the street, without any fear. I remember in Azerbaijan, about 5 of us, all men, 5 men, we came over to a walkway, and there was a woman sitting on a bench, and we all came up to her to ask her directions, and I was worried, well, let's not frighten the woman. In New York, if that happens, the woman shouts for the police, you know. So in other words, there were safe streets, it was a civil society, and that's a measurement, that's a very real measurement of where people are at when the women can walk late at night and feel safe. So all of that was changed. The goal of this U.S. empire is to